the 1.38 patch meta. So by bringing in Doomfist and running the full dive setup and sparkles on Gen.G as well, this speaks to me that they're going to go full on aggression and they're going to be diving deep into Gen.G. And if Gen.G can't deal with that kind of aggression, they're going to fall over quickly.
I think also what sticks out to me is a Moira Lucio setup with this. So you don't have the availability of the nano to give to Sparkle. And it's more important for the damage mitigation that a Gen.G needs, especially against this damage squad of Gen.G. An early pick for Weekend. Rocket to the dome of Sparkle going in for the dive as Weekend now is finding the supports of Element Mystic that are just unprotected. And this is the fear of the sky that you have to worry about for Gen.G. But meanwhile, Doha's having some fun into the backline. But as the dust clears, will be Gen.G getting that first take.
Yeah, it seems like the stability that Gen.G's composition provides for them is definitely the boon that allowed them to take this point here. And you can see that these players are focused in right now. Gen.G taking that early control. Still though, they need to get these ultimates up. They need to play safe here. Element Mystic, if anybody from Gen.G gets out of position even by an inch, Element Mystic will pounce on that.
And this is where Element Mystic now need to start working on these ultimates because Gen.G have their sniper really far away. Glister is in the back, wants to avoid that dive. Keep an eye on that Doomfist. Wiki gonna have the barrage, sees it, lays it down. Mostly Matrix still finds one. Wiki staying alive is what's most valuable in this attack right now for Gen.G. Without a shield to stand on, Ruya's gonna try and clear the area for the whole hog. Gen.G still in firm control though. Element Mystic did have a take at the moment, but Gen.G take it right back.
Yeah, Element Mystic's composition is just so good at actually taking and controlling space. Gen.G is very much about area denial and obtaining picks, but here's the thing, Element Mystic, they can just dive in and they can just claim what's theirs. Now, though, they're still just trying to continue holding on to this progress. Slowly but surely, Gen.G will take control as Element Mystic does die off, but the purpose here is that they want to build into their ultimates. Once they have those ultimates to play off of, they can jump in, push Gen.G back again, and then go ahead, release those ultimates, stall that fight out even longer, continue it, and if Doha and Sparkle can come out and get some picks for the team, Gen.G will fall over.
But at least Element Mystic were able to stall for at least 30 extra % than they had. And now they have all their most important ultimates. And even though they don't have a nano, maybe the barrier for Sparkle will be enough.
Oh, now Element Mystic with unique sound barrier coming up pretty soon. They're going to need that sustainability to take on this really tough front line. Oberon, Wudal together.
Also taking care of that supercharger first. Oh, Sparkle. Thinking a shot from Glister. He's there for the finish. Takoyaki with the Primal Rage is also making a ton of space, taking out Creative. So he's in the backline harassing Gen.G, forcing out the Valkyrie from Bliss. But Gen.G without a shield and only one support alive, this is going to be a tough fight for them to retake. But at least extending this as much as they can will be the goal. Now with Mystic, despite the war they just went through, didn't have to use their blade, they only had to use a Primal.
So Element Mystic hanging in, but not getting the flip just yet. Have a couple of ultimates that they have to sustain through, and that's the last one there. Wudal dying out after utilizing the whole hog. Now Gen.G just trying to get that tick up to 99% before inevitably letting this one go. Yeah, just stalling this thing out.
That took so long. Gen.G like took an extra 10-15 seconds. And now if they can win this next fight, oh, and they're staggering Bliss, so that's a good 10+ seconds that you're buying for yourself. And Element Mystic have a lot to they have a lot of gap to close.
That was good for Gen.G to fall off there. So now 98% here. This could be pretty cool to see if Gen.G is able to take this quickly and then just catch Element Mystic off guard by just getting that cap, getting the 1% and then taking it. But Element Mystic now utilizing this high ground, ready to dive in.
Well, at the last second, there's the play from Sparkle. A wall won't stop him. You'll need a whole army because he's taking out yours into the back. Element Mystic thriving off of the one sword they needed to clean up this fight.
Now Sparkle falling back. Doha has definitely cleared a lot of space for Sparkle to make those kinds of plays. Maybe that's why they feel they don't need the nano boost. They don't need that damage reduction because Doha and Takoyaki all diving in. Han been able to protect them as well. So Sparkle could just kind of go through without too many looks in his direction. Still though, sound barrier available. This is the last fight here.
Doomfist is on your supports. You cannot let him stay alive. The main needs to slow him down, but Wicked Takes a 1-2 punch to the face, 99 to 98. Gen.G looking for the retake, but they've lost their damage dealers. How will their tanks survive? They still have their healers, but just barely. Creative is finished off. Element Mystic have leftover ultimates, a coalescence to hose down Gen.G, who have no fight left in them. And 100 to 98 will conclude the first round for Element Mystic.
So by actually playing in with those two kind of flex DPS type players, where Doha does have the ability to play quite a wide array of heroes, you're not really locked into playing a lot of those hit scan options like XZ would maybe be locked into, despite obviously being phenomenal with them. This is an interesting take here from Element Mystic, and this is what we got from them last playoffs and into Showdown as well, where they had an interesting take on the meta, and it kind of allowed them to ride that unique quality, that creativity all the way through first place finish, both in the playoffs and in Showdown. And again, here showing that off with the Doomfist, with the Gen.G diving through. They don't care about shields because they'll just walk behind them.
Element Mystic was a team that defied the meta since the start. Goats, yeah, whatever. We're gonna play 2-2-2. Hey, oh, May Reaper, what's that? I'm gonna play dive into it. So Element Mystic proving, oh, Glister, proving me wrong right there. I'm trying to hype up Element Mystic here, but Doha will be missing in action. And this kind of deja vu from round one, where Element Mystic kind of lost that one at the start. And now with a double sniper setup, Gen.G now under fire.
Well, it looks like they're going to be answering back that dive. Element Mystic have to be careful in these scenarios where if they can play together, they might be able to get something done. But Gen.G, they're showing that if they actually just kind of huddle into corners, anybody that dives in becomes the priority target, and they kind of just play front to back. Whatever's the closest target for them, they're going to deal with.
Yeah, that take a breather won't heal you from the floor. It's a pretty steep dive, but what I'm also seeing between the two is Wuyal's Roadhog is so clean. We saw that in week 7. Sparkle, though, is trapped between a wall at a hard place, and I mean by a fortified Orisa. But Gen.G, they have sights, but Glister didn't see that one coming. Element Mystic now is trying to lead the way with the coalescence into the spawn of Gen.G. Current control here for Element Mystic. They have a Sparkle Blade, but they have to wait out the storm of Wuyal's whole hog, taking out the front line of Element Mystic. And now, this is everyone retreating for Element Mystic. Now they're at a disadvantage. They want to throw bodies on the corner.
Yeah, Element Mystic, they're just going to be keeping the sustain here. And now you see the commit actually from Creative, which we keep down. Now Transcendence is out. He can just free Blade.
And with Doha by his side, lighting him up and slicing him up, this is the duo-ship we love to see from this team. These blades have been perfect. You don't need a nano. They barely even use support ultimates with Sparkle. This is the patience we waited. They were down by 2 and remained in control that whole time.
Yeah, and Element Mystic loves when these fights break down like this. You see the value in the stall back on Shrine. You see the value here as well. Doha hiding behind them. They don't see it.
He wants that juicy Moirai, couldn't find it right away, got her low. Using the meteor strike to reposition to safety. Do you want to be risky? You want to be safe? Goes back to the rest of the team, especially missing your Winston on a great start. Element Mystic, they will invest the barrier now to engage, and it's the moment to engage, especially when there's no Reaper. That's the main threat from Gen.G. But now Wicked has the Blizzard, takes a jab from Doha. There's the coalescence from Element Mystic. They have the resource advantage, and there is Gen.G struggling to maintain any fight advantage now with their Reaper just coming back.
And this is just really speaking to their ability to find a way to deal with this meta, and they're just answering this May Reaper. And May Reaper loves linear fights. That's what it loves. You see it, having a lot of high value on stuff like King's Row, on those second stages, even on control.
4 seconds.
But here it's all open. Element Mystic able to deal with things.
This is the last chance Gen.G have. They have the ultimates. They need to pull the trigger, and they will do that. There is the Blizzard securing their entry towards the point. They're grouped up, but Sparkle has already taken down most of their team. Glister with the Death Blossom gets mostly Matrix. Gen.G had the tools. They could not make anything out of it. Element Mystic too strong on this Doomfist, and Gen.G and their synergy as a whole as Element Mystic will take the 2-0 on Nepal.
Showing off that not only can they play the dive, but they can play it well enough to beat what is considered going into this playoff. We've seen a lot of play on 1.38 already. We've been blessed with that. I mean, this is also the latest Contenders season to end as well. I think every other Contender season is over except for this one.
Last.
So, but that was against meta. They pulled that off and they made it look easy. It was 100 to 10.
Element Mystic looks so strong, and I was kind of never seen a Lucio Moira really with the Genji. You know, the Nano's so important, even with an Ana on the other side. That didn't stop MCD. That didn't stop Element Mystic. And there's patience there. Even when they lost their both tanks, Sparkle held on to Blade, waited for Doha to join him, and Element Mystic, they play so well under pressure. But that is map 1 for Element Mystic. We're gonna throw it to a quick break, and we'll see you guys for map 2. Welcome back, everybody, to the semi-final between Gen.G and Element Mystic. Yes, it's deja vu from last season, but we will see who's kind of coming out farther ahead, because in the regular season, it was Gen.G. When they last faced each other, it was Gen.G that won in a Game 5.
Yeah, Gen.G has been exceptional throughout Season 2 so far. Element Mystic, on the other hand, has been kind of middle of the road, I think is fair to say. Yeah, 2-5 was their overall record, but as we mentioned before, their map score definitely, it didn't speak to that. I mean, 15-16, not that bad at all, and now going into 2-2, we should see them really bounce back. But interesting points that we actually noticed from that first map, some different kind of looks taking place, right? I mean, Element Mystic, they're playing the Doomfist, but it's not Sparkle on it. Instead, it's Doha actually playing that. They're really kind of playing into their ability to actually play the dive, and I think that's a big reason why we don't see XE. I think we should be able to see more of him throughout the rest of the match, as we do want to see probably more sniper play onto some of these other map types.
And it makes sense, right? Sombra you think would be the answer to a lot of things like a Roadhog and a Orisa, but against a May Reaper or some of the, like even a Roadhog, it's pretty dangerous to be a Sombra to uncloak behind everyone. And Doha was like the most famous Sombra, one of the best Sombras. He's had some hot and cold moments, of course, but now we're getting to see maybe how deep. Yeah, fair point. You know, I'm going to keep it at that. He's had some moments where he's gotten hooked in spawn and stuff like that, but it's okay because he's the best at Sombra. But now he's showing actually how deep his hero pool can be, and even how he works with Sparkle in that hero pool sense.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, Sparkle, he's definitely known for being a Doomfist, but it shouldn't be a surprise to see someone else playing the Doomfist so he could play the Genji, because actually, even before his time shining bright on the Doomfist throughout 2018, and certainly when he really stepped into the spotlight in a big way on Showdown, where we saw quite a bit of that happening as well, he was known for Genji. I mean, he was known for being able to play really, really solid Genji. We saw him on Pharah prior to that, or surrounding that even as well. So it shouldn't be a surprise to see him on the Genji while someone else plays the Doom, despite him being touted as one of the best Dooms in the world, you know, throughout the entirety of the latter part of 2018 and then into 2019. So it makes a lot of sense. It's definitely insane to think that a team is capable of doing that. I mean, Element Mystic, it should be definitely a point of fear, I think, for Gen.G, that Element Mystic can pull things like that out and look that good at him.
For sure, and even Glister had a pretty decent performance as the Widowmaker. Just the sheer presence kind of forced someone like Doha on the Doomfist to kind of reconsider who he was really going to go after, because usually you would go after the supports, but with the Widowmaker on the field, depending on how good that Widow is and how much he's shooting his shots, you might want to change your direction towards someone like Glister. But Element Mystic, speaking of Widows, not starting XZ at the start, and now it's quite clear why they're not doing that. It seems like the dive setup is working quite well for them.
Yeah, I think Gen.G was expected to come out on the May Reaper or some variation thereof. And because of that, it really requires these, you know, stationary kind of static setups to really flourish. And Element Mystic gave them the exact opposite of that. I mean, they had a very highly mobile composition. I mean, you're talking about a support lineup that cannot be locked down, a Lucio that can wall ride right out and away from everything that May wants to do. And we even saw that specifically on Sanctum, where the Lucio was able to slip out and away from the May. Moirai who can shift out, a tank line that can shift out, a DPS line that can shift out. So Blizzard's going to have virtually no value unless you're able to pull those cooldowns out before actually dropping them. And then even still, you have to worry about the D.Va defense matrix.
And of course, we are still waiting for the teams to be ready for map 2. So instead of talking your ears off, we're going to throw it to a quick music break, and we'll see you guys when the teams are ready. The tech issues have subsided. We're here into map 2. Gen.G's choice bringing us to Temple of Anubis out. The gates will be the good old Hulk on the attack with a Hanzo May.
And we have XE back in the lineup here. Going to be playing the Widowmaker instead of Doha, who did his duty very well for them on control. Now it's XE's turn to shine. And here on this Widowmaker pick, we expect that here. But Takayaki has been the talk of this so far. We saw him coming out on the Winston. That's a big reason why they don't have him versus Alpha, or rather they do have him versus Alpha in that matchup. And again, here I would expect on Anubis for that to be the same thing. They want to maybe play the Winston on attack.
Yeah, he definitely is the more Winston specialist, but for the moment, still trying to hustle with an Arista. Force Lady from Gen.G, but kind of getting peppered with rockets from Sparkle, and they have to try and access XZ, who's all the way at the back. Gen.G are going to have to worry about not taking so much poke damage and hopefully try and advance and get their setup going.
Yeah, Wukid accidentally ooped that wall there, just left the lane open, but there is a first pick there, but it's going to be picked back up. Unique going to be able to get that res off, and now in the backline exposed.
Oh, Hummin with the Matrix! That was super clutch. Now, up by 1, there is a barrage from Sparkle, just easily finds 3. That was so quick. XZ even adding on to that. Gen.G, now, knowing this is not the composition that's going to work. Look at the swats. At least the Diva is in. Is Oberon still on the Orisa? Looks like it.
Yeah, and we see Sparkle is going to need a little bit of time to get back into position as he's working his way over, but with this delay, Gen.G setting up, they have the May Reaper. This is that kind of meta composition, that new GOATs that everybody's talking about in 1.38.
It's difficult with an Orisa because you have to keep resetting up your shields. Like a Reinhardt, you can turn and spot where this Widow is. And Element Mystic are doing that. They're taking threats from multiple angles. This is how XZ is still finding shots. Losing that mech from Wuyao early, not ideal, but Gen.G inching closer towards that objective.
Yeah, XZ, I like this rotation from him as well, where Sparkle can get very aggressive, has the help of the Mercy, and now just working into those supports. That's a second one.
Raining down on him. On a Diva of all people, that's dangerous, especially when they can Matrix, fire right back, throw the mech in your forehead. So far, Gen.G almost working towards their first tick. Coalescence, try and pressure Sparkle, but it's Sparkle that fires right back. He is resurrected. Gen.G still don't have enough members to make this a decisive fight for them. They still have 3 or 4. Their supports are alive. They have the resources as long as they can just get their first tick. That's what they want, but Element Mystic keep contesting it, and they won't let them.
Yeah, and with Creative down, finally, I think Creative's going to get back soon, but there's the Lucio down as well. They just don't have that double support lineup that they need for this to work out in their favor. Element Mystic is totally fine to keep pressure down onto them, allow this fight to extend well past its duration right now.
Oh, Sparkle! Oh my god, so much justice from this guy. Should be a lawyer. Like, this has been 3 barrages, and Gen.G spent all this time to not get that first tick. There's a flashback. Looking back in your brain, see if you remember this one.
And Sparkle just opening things up. They were totally fine to push them into that. Sparkle, that was actually his objective. He wanted them in there, into that confined space, so that he could just unleash. Once they saw the DM go down, and it was that resource was kind of low, Sparkle opened up. Now, it's XZ. He's on the Sombra. Remember, this is Doha's classic pick, but XZ's on it here, getting ever closer to that EMP setup to shut down Gen.G once more.
And you also don't want to get too close, especially with Glister on this McCree who can stun you and deal with you. Speaking of that, he wants to get rid of Sparkle. You're down to the last few seconds. You're using the Blizzard. XZ counters with an EMP barrage. Sparkle, the true king of the 2-2-2. Shining bright for Element Mystic on this defense that will full hold Gen.G in this map too.
And remember what the stakes of this are. You have to get a win here if you want a shot at just being able to lock yourself in for Gauntlet. If you lose, you have another matchup against a really, really strong team in the third place matchup to decide if you can get there. So now Element Mystic, they are dominating Gen.G. This doesn't even feel close.
That was tough, and I think that it mainly came down to Element Mystic pushing a composition that wasn't working. Mainly, you know that you had to access the Widowmaker that was at the very back. Winston maybe was the play. Orisa, even then, Sparkle found angles in and around the team, constantly finding 1 or 2, and you had to deal with the hooks from the defense. Element Mystic, it never felt like they had an advantage at any of the fights they took.
Yeah, and this is really coming down to, I think, Element Mystic, just their understanding of this meta, because even looking back, yes, we haven't seen Gen.G in the playoffs yet. We have seen Element Mystic, and I mean, Gen.G, they looked good in their Week 7 matchup. They played 2-2-2 in that matchup. It was versus Runaway. It wasn't a nobody team. I mean, this was Runaway that we're talking about. Sure, it went to a Game 5, but Gen.G was the better team on that day. And now you go into this matchup here, and Element Mystic is exposing them at every turn. I mean, showing off that not only are they capable of being creative on a control map type, but they continue that out as well. And they're showing that they're swaps, their changes that they're making mid-fight, or rather mid-round, are working out in their favor. Even Xe going over to the Sombra really helped them. That EMP set that fight up at the very end for them to close that out very cleanly.
And this is a composition that Gen.G are setting up because they have to hold 33%. How long can they do that for with the Mercy Ana? It's going to be Glister again on the Widowmaker, and Wiki letting it rain with the Junkrat. So, clearly, Wooyah feeling comfortable back onto this D.Va, although he looked really clean. Oh, okay, unique. Just ran into an explosion. That's not lucky at all.
Yeah, and this is, again, why Element Mystic brought in Takoyaki for this map. We talked about it at the beginning, and same reason that they wanted him out on control. They wanted to play the Winston. Well, Takoyaki's your best bet for that. Now, Element Mystic playing this setup, the Nano Blade with the EMP. This essentially ensures that you're going to be able to get this first tick, because with those 3 ultimates working together, you can get those kills.
Are you kidding me? Again. This looks good for Element Mystic. Now looking to still position themselves. Who is going to be their next target? Looking at Glister, looking at Wiki. Bliss going back to Lucio, trying to get back as quick as they can, because Element Mystic, they're coming, and they're coming after your supports. Now Creative is dead, and Bliss will be the only healer. He's back. Takes care of Sparkle. Element Mystic, though, down by 2. No damage dealers. Their tanks are still working on that top right positioning. Seems like they haven't reset yet. Glister harassing the supports. Element Mystic haven't given up.
Support advantage certainly in favor of Element Mystic, but at the moment, it looks like they're going to be backed off. The tank line from Gen.G, something that was a highlight for them against Runaway in that Week 7 matchup that we just mentioned, actually showing out and actually performing in a big capacity here, pushing Element Mystic back in what could have easily been Element Mystic's take of that first point and the map along with it.
You have now a Nano Blade coming up. Well, first, there's a tire. Coming up to blow up the plans of Element Mystic on this next attack. Looking up for the first pick, but Xe catches it. Man, everyone hit from that. Gen.G, Oberon under fire, though. And there is Sparkle with the Nano Blade. Valkyrie even assisting him. So much damage coming in from this guy. He's been powerful thus far. Element Mystic now looking to take the one tick, the only tick they need to go now to match point. And there you have it, up 2-0 against the Titans of Gen.G.
And remember, this matchup, I mean, it's only been going on now for about 40 minutes. We've only been in play for about a half an hour of that, and there has been that, very short tech delay as well. This game hasn't been going on that long, and this is the first of 3. It could be over just that quick. But I love that composition again from Element Mystic. Again, identifying what they need to do there and recognizing that once they get those 3 ultimates ready and good to go, the EMP, the Nano Boost, and the Gen.G Blade as well, Gen.G simply no answer, no defensive ultimates to play with at all. So as soon as those 3 ults come out, that's a fight win.
I mean, is Gen.G getting punished for not having a successful attack? There's just like no way to defend a 33% needed defense. And you can see even just looking at their bench, they look really stunned right now and not confused, but just how are we going to deal with Sparkle on this Gen.G? How are we going to deal with Element Mystic? They did not prepare for this. They maybe prepared for May Reaper. They maybe prepared for snipers. But a Doomfist, Sombra, Gen.G? What is this? Who knows? But Element Mystic, they look so good. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and we'll see if Element Mystic can take the clean sweep.